around with my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? You know why? My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. They on the other side. I'm walking around with my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? You know why? My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. They on the
Welcome to Would You Marry You, where we have candid conversations about what we are bringing to the table. I am your host, Daphne, and today we are going to have an exciting conversation on the topic of listen to hear. Healthy communication styles. But first, I would like to welcome our guests, James McCarroll and Dale Lawrence.
What's happening?
Glad to be here. So glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, Dale, would you tell me a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Artist, author, and just server. Just I serve.
You serve.
Serve people.
You serve people.
Yeah, I serve
like that.
people. Yeah.
I like that. And so, tell me a little bit about you.
So, senior pastor at First Baptist Church in the beautiful city of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Author, book publisher, and kind of encourager.
Encourager. So, guys, let's get to this topic.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to this topic. Listening to hear. Healthy communication styles. So what is the difference between listening and hearing? You know, to listen to hear, what is the difference between listening and hearing?
Depending on which author you ask, some would argue that one means one and one means the other, but I think the difference is the difference. It's receiving information versus grasping meaning. So it's not just hearing a word. So listening would be being able to receive the raw data. So you say, I'm going to the mall. They hear I'm going to the mall. Hearing is being able to properly and accurately interpret the intention of the heart that actually spoke the words. And so it's more than just getting the words, it's making sure you're getting the meaning behind them.
That's good, that's good. So what I hear you saying is one is actually receiving it and the other one is processing it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so how did you come to that understanding? And
Yeah, so a number of books. One of the books that really blessed me is The Gift to Listen, The Courage to Hear. And it talks about the 4 stages of listening, and the last 2 stages are receiving, and the other one is decoding. And so being able to know the difference between the two, and that receiving isn't decoding, and you can receive and never decode, or improperly and inaccurately decode.
you know, I'm sitting here with 2 guys, so I'm not, you know, I know I'm probably a little bit outnumbered here, but I'm just gonna go here, right? So I have always understood that we as women, we're like deep thinkers, and we always try to process what you mean when you say something or whatever. So what does that look like from a man's standpoint when you hear the words listening to hear?
Frustrating. Yeah, I'm gonna add the spice to the conversation.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna be.
Okay.
No, I mean sometimes it can be, you know, because like you said, you guys you like to think you know what we're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say more about that.
Maybe later. We'll run out of time.
We'll run out of time. Oh, are we that
I want you to get to I don't want you to get to all your stuff. We'll tap it here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a deep well right there.
I think it's a fair conversation though, because there again, when we're talking about marriage and we're talking about would you marry you, if
Right.
you're not able to take the concept of you're not listening to me,
Sure.
right? Because that's what I'm
Sure.
speak on, you know.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Y'all got the me in here. I'm
Yeah.
gonna speak on
Right,
this.
right.
You're not listening, or you didn't hear what I said.
Which one?
Both. All right. So what is it that we need to do to be able to better communicate with the men to say what it is that we're trying to say?
All right.
Yeah, so to hear or to say it, because those are 2 different things.
So we're saying it, but how are you hearing it?
So how much time do we have?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think
That's what I'm saying. This need to be YouTube. Go on and on and on.
Yeah, so one author calls it pink headphones versus blue headphones. frequencies of listening. So men, we process in very logical, logistical ways. Women process with the heart, very emotional ways in most cases. And so you listen at the level you process. And so most of us never become bilingual listeners. We only listen in our language. And so if Dale says, hey, I need 30 seconds to watch this game, if you're not listening on his frequency, then you're hearing, he doesn't like me, he doesn't love me, he doesn't value me, I'm not worth his time, and that's never been what he was saying. Men are pretty straight up. We're like cavemen. You know, we didn't evolve that much when it comes to listening. We're like, hey, I'm watching the game. It's pretty simple. It's not, you know, if I want to talk about the dress, I'll talk about the dress. So we just listen on the wrong frequency. And so in the same manner with us, you say, hey, I'm going to the mall, and you're trying to tell us, I really want you to go with me, and I really would love to have you look at this pair of beige shoes that I'm looking to get. We're like, oh, you want me to go to the mall? So we get there and we're sitting around like, you want to be here. I'm here. I want to look at those beige shoes. Mean what you're saying, say what you mean, you know. And so I think it's just the bilingual listening, and most times we never become students of the other language.
See, you over here laughing about it, but you don't want to talk about it. Come on now.
No, I'm talking about it. Go ahead. What's up?
That's the question. Like, what is it that we can do to be able to communicate more effectively where you're able to hear us?
Right, just understand that men are simple. That's it. I mean, that's it. Just say what you mean what you say. And when you ask it, understand we're going to answer what you asked. We're not going to answer what you feel, the setup, what's 5 questions down the line. Because, see, you already got that developed when you come and ask one question. We so naive, we just thinking this just about one question. But this is about something we did 2 weeks ago, and you just done thought it out, talked it with your girlfriends. You got a whole battle plan, and we just thinking this is about going to the mall.
That is so not fair.
You asked for it now. I tried to.
You have to speak. Let me ask you this. Would you go into an Italian bakery in Milan, Italy, in a country or a community that only speaks Italian, and get mad when they don't understand English?
That's a not fair question. You know that, right?
How's that not fair?
Well, I understand what you're saying. So, yes, I would try to articulate in a way that they're able to understand, even if I don't speak their language. Now,
even if you're poorly bilingual, give it a shot. I think that's what we're saying.
Poorly bilingual, give it a shot. That is so interesting just to think about the difference between how different we are. You know, we are all humans, but we are very different in our processing and the way that we hear things, because I hear what you don't say a lot of times. And so
how do you know that?
How do I know?
Yeah, see, there we go.
But you assume we don't say it.
You didn't say it.
We're simple. It's you know, think about the caveman.
You're giving us too much credit.
Caveman, rock, fire. You know, there are a couple of brothers that are a little more articulate, but the average guy's like, look, I need some shoes. There's no deep emotional stuff behind it. I need some shoes. I'm going to the mall to get some shoes. What you really going to the mall for? I'm going to the mall to get some shoes. So,
you want to talk to that chick, huh?
Go there. Look, oh, you don't want me to go with you, right?
Right, there it is.
Oh, you gonna go by yourself.
Right.
You take too long.
Right.
You put on makeup. I can get the shoes and be back by the time you put your eyelashes on. Like, who is she? You.
Where's she at? What's she doing? That is so cool. So when it comes to conversing, right, just a regular conversation, now we're not talking about I'm getting ready to go here, I'm doing just a regular conversation. I heard you say, give me 30 seconds to watch the game, right? So if I come back in a minute, now I gave you your 30 seconds. That's what you asked for, 30 seconds. Why then is it that at that point you're not able to shut down what it is that you're doing and concentrate on what it is that she needs to say at that particular time?
Well, we both gonna go, but I'm gonna start because I know a lot about this scenario. So if I tell you the time, right? Okay, then I'm going to be a man of my word. So, and I'm going to shut that down and give you that attention. But there are a lot of men that are not, men of their word. And if they say, yeah, come back in 30, but they really don't mean 30, then now you've caused unnecessary conflict. Especially if you truly understand that woman, she want to talk, you need to listen. So mean what you say what you mean.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So meaning what you say and saying what you mean.
Right, so that has to do with integrity. If the guy didn't cut off the game after 30 seconds, then he just ain't even a man of his word. Listening ain't even the problem. Let's start first with the integrity.
Yeah, but it may have been an estimate.
Okay.
The game may be in overtime.
I couldn't have, there's no way I could have predicted overtime.
Right. No way.
But the average man would at least put it on mute. Now, he may do this, but the average man will say, okay, if I said 30 seconds, you respected me enough to give me the 30 seconds. It's in overtime, but let me know what you want. Now, if it's the 30-minute conversation after that, he may be a little ADHD and split, attention be split. But most guys will. They'll say, hey, you did do that.
Yeah.
So how did you understand? I mean, did you come up in an environment where there was healthy conversation?
I read it. I studied it.
You studied it.
Because the environments did not provide the right model. I've found the people who did the research and then put it into practice enough to adapt it and see where it works and where it doesn't work. Because the writer may speak from a context that doesn't match mine. So being able to see it in a number of life, real-time circumstances or real-time instances helped understand it in a more real-time way.
Awesome. What about yourself? Did you come up? I know your environment was a little different.
Yeah, a lot of arguing.
A lot of arguing.
So definitely wasn't no communication, nothing like that. And I don't think that's common with a lot of us. I've never really seen that. And I think that, toxic behavior is now normalized, and promoted. It's cute, it's sexy, right? That's what's on the sizzle, that's what's on the IG, that's what's on the TikTok is the toxic stuff, not what we're talking about here. So I think that, we need to make this viral. We need to make healthy conversations. And then that way, a lot of people can know. Because I never knew, just like, my homeboy, we never was taught. So you have to seek that. Yeah, you have to seek that knowledge.
And I think that for me, it was kind of the same way.
Yeah.
It was almost like, let's not talk about it. There were so many things that needed to be communicated that weren't communicated. And I was visiting with a friend earlier today. His dad went to be with the Lord earlier today, and they had some conversations previously, but there were some conversations that they had that the dad was like, I'm gonna come back and follow up. Never got a chance to follow up on. And then there are things that now are not in place,
Sure.
and it shifts the whole legacy of the family now because there are things that weren't taken care of. And I know ultimately, culturally, we're just gonna be real. There are certain things that we just don't talk about. And one of those things is what does it look like after death? Do we have everything in place that we need to? Have we set up the wills and trust? Do we have a power of attorney? All of these things that we don't get a chance to communicate, and why don't we communicate them? Do we not know the healthy way to have those conversations? And if we don't, how do we get started? Where does it start?
I think it takes a generation that chooses to be open, honest, and, as you said, have integrity when it comes to life. I think we're seeing it now for the first time in our communities. Young people saying, okay, I'm tired of going to my co-workers for a GoFundMe for Uncle Johnny and Aunt Sally and Madia and Big Mama, and starting to say, wait a minute, there has to be a better way. And now that they have more access to information, they're saying, what is that better way? And they're getting the life insurance plans. They're making those adjustments. But I think it's going to be us valuing excellence across the board. So it's not just saying, okay, hey, get a death benefit. Well, be a good father first. Be a good husband second. Understand what leadership in your home means, and be a good financial steward both in life and in death. And if you're not willing to do the others, then stewardship is irrelevant. I don't need stewardship is not necessary while I haven't committed to being good in any role I've been given. And so I think it's being able, most people think, you know, that's their problem. Well, I ain't got to worry about it when I die.
Yeah,
I think I got to put a hole in the ground.
I'm gonna be out of here.
Right. Let them deal with that.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, having those, a person doesn't have that in their home, you know,
Right.
not just the communication, I mean, the communication as a whole. Where do we get started? Because it's not being done in the school system.
Yep.
I mean, the education system, from what I see, is not the healthiest that it could be either. So if we're not having good communication skills there, we're not learning it in our homes, when do we learn it?
I think you learn it as soon as you recognize you need it. You know, as soon as you see it's a problem. And I mean, like you said, information age, everything is a Google away. You know what I mean? Everything is a Google away. And one of the biggest things that helped me was therapy. You know, when you look at self-development, you know, and self-improvement, and I saw, you know, my therapist saying mirroring and learning that, I'm like, oh, okay, I like this, you know, because this is something I can take into relationship, family, and even business.
And I think that's what I love about the "Would you marry you" piece,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is it about marriage? Yeah, it's about marriage, but it's about every relationship that you're in.
Yeah, it is.
Because it matters not which relationship, you're responsible for what you bring to the table. And if we're not bringing those healthy listening styles to the table, then it's going to affect not just what happens in our marriage, but what happens, like you said, as a father, as a husband, as a businessman, as a pastor even, you know, and all of those different roles.
I think it's also listening to the moment.
Oh, that's good.
We listen to the people, but we deafen ourselves to the moment. And how many funerals have we been a part of where the lack of management in that moment is trying to speak to us?
Man.
You know what I mean? And I think it's training the next generation to understand, don't just hear what I say. Pay attention to the moment you're in. And if they pay attention to enough moments, as Dale said, they'll start to realize something's wrong.
So true.
And it's one click away, it's one Google away. How do I not do that?
Man, that's good.
And they click. But then, you know, I think cremation should be brought back.
Hey, my dad was cremated.
I'm gonna be cremated.
Mine was too.
Dig that.
Yeah.
I may go for the same
You know.
thing.
No,
Yeah.
why not? I mean, yeah.
Save the casket money.
You know, I was
But you know
I've
what,
always
though?
thought about that. You know, you're putting all that money in
I'm
the
doing a
grave.
funeral
Okay, I'm sorry.
next week, and they're being cremated, but they got a casket too.
Yeah. You get a temporary casket.
Yeah, temporary.
Yeah.
For the funeral, for the show.
funeral, yeah.
Yeah, for the show
Yeah,
of
no
it. You know,
crying
people
in a-
want to feel like, you know,
Yeah. But I said that to say this.
don't do.
You know, because, and I mentioned that, I think we have to really bring that back into the conversation.
Yeah.
Because what's happening now is people aren't staying on jobs the way they stayed on
That's
jobs.
No, they're not.
That's
They're
right.
not stacking money the way
Come
they
on,
stack
man.
money.
Yeah.
And so they're assuming that mama's going to live to be 80. And I think what the pandemic taught us was you cannot not have funds for a rainy day.
Wow.
You have to have a strategy for the day you don't read, a day you can't predict.
That's good.
And guys getting caught off guard. You know, as a pastor, we hear calls all day long. You know, can y'all give us $3,000 to bury my grandmama? I said, look, man. As much as I would love to give $3,000 to bury your grandmama, I'd recommend the incinerator. I shouldn't say it. The crematorium. I'm sorry, the crematorium.
Right.
But communication.
Rolling uncut. Rolling
Rolling
uncut.
uncut.
But in all fairness, they say no. I want to put her in the ground,
Right.
and you'd be surprised how many funeral homes go in debt because they trust the word of someone. And people will say anything when they're emotional
Right.
and never come back.
Of course.
And I think as part of even being good stewards of supporting the businesses in our community, it's saying, look, if I can't afford this, I can't afford it. And let me find the way that's going to still give her dignity. Like I said, rent the casket, still give her dignity, still give her honor. We don't need 5 limousines. Let us find a way to celebrate her life
Right.
and take care of her remains.
Yeah.
That's it.
And do it in a way that again will represent her, represent our family, and celebrate her life.
I think that's so good. And when it, coming back to the conversation, the communication, right? One of the things that I was blessed to do is I didn't meet my dad until I was 30, but we had very few idle conversations. Like every conversation we had was really deep.
Yeah.
And we talked about those things. And one of my dad's things was always giving back. And so his desire was to have his body donated to science.
Oh, wow.
To figure out like why his particular types of cancer moved as quickly as it did.
Oh, wow.
And that was his last gift of giving back.
Wow.
You know, and so that, for me, if we had not had that conversation,
Yes.
where I was truly listening to his heart, it would have been like, because my brother was like, no, they're going to do this to the body, and da-da-da-da-da, and I was like, Dad wanted to give back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I listened to him. Whether I agreed with it or not, that doesn't matter. But I listened to hear his heart behind what it was
Yeah.
that he wanted to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And then understanding that he did not have those things in place. He did not have a life insurance policy in place, and he did not want to leave that on his children.
Yeah,
You know.
but I think that therein is the love factor, and a big part of communication is love. It's me saying, I'm sent by God into your life to bring whatever purpose or assignment I'm sent to bring, and the goal of that assignment is to reflect the love of God as carried out through my specific purpose. And when we have conversation, I don't want you to miss what God is doing through me, but I also don't want to miss where you are and how you are and who you are, because I can't effectively serve you. I can't effectively love you if I've never heard your voice,
That's
if I've
so
never
good.
understand you. And so even when it comes to, like you said, you have this opportunity to serve your Father, and you're listening to him because now the assignment's been placed on you to handle his remains. And so at the end of the day, communication is always tempered by love. You'll communicate to the degree that you're willing to love, and you'll love to the degree that you're willing to serve, and you'll serve to the degree that you're willing to see a person become.
Oh, that's so good.
And if you don't care about their becoming, you won't serve them, you won't love them, and you won't listen to them. At that point, they become an ornament on your life.
Oh,
They're about as good as a Christmas tree ornament. Only good to take off the shelf when you feel like looking good.
that's deep.
And to do that is to rob your assignment, because ultimately your assignment is for them, not you. But when it comes to burying people, like you said, or hearing that or any other thing, to serve them, we have to be able to listen, and listening begins with love.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like I said, it's one of those things where to do that, say it to him in that moment, man, she loves me. She's gonna give my eyebrows to my hair.
That's
So
right.
they can gauge,
Figure out how to make them grow faster.
Exactly.
See what's at the end of it, at that root of that eyebrow. They can make some grow when they can have. That's exactly what they do. That's what we gonna do. That's what we gonna do. That's what we gonna do. So, healthy communication. How would you start? If you had the opportunity to say to someone, it's time for you to really start thinking about healthy communication, what would your advice be to them?
Healthy communication begins with healing yourself. It begins with within. How can I communicate healthiness if I'm not well? There's no way, the Bible says out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. So if I'm unhealthy, and I know this like firsthand, everything out my mouth gonna be toxic. Everything, even I love you gonna be toxic.
How do you say I love you toxically?
Easy. Tell me you love me.
I love you. Wow.
And then you'll say, I love you. I love you too. I said I loved you, right? But what did my brother say earlier? It was that frequency behind hearing, what was behind where my heart was when I said. I only said it because you said it.
Oh, wow.
So now do I mean it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's unhealthy.
Yes.
Even though I, on surface, like to the outside ear, oh, he said it. But then I didn't say it right away, number one, which means I never wanted to say it in the first place. And then you had to reinforce it, which means now you're making me say it. You know what I'm saying? Now you making me say it.
Wow.
So I'm showing you the red flag, but you breaking out the Clorox. You trying to bleach the red flag. I love you. That's you bleaching. when I just showed you where I was.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Woo-wee. That's good. So it starts with self-evaluation.
Yeah, you got to heal you. You can't commit. I mean, you know, people that are, you've been around just mean people, toxic people, people that got attitudes. You see them at the job. You see them, come on. You know, you go to Chick-fil-A, hey, it's a great day. How are you? How can I serve you? McDonald's, what you want? Y'all, if I'm lying, tell me. You know the difference between the service of a healthy organization and one that just hires anybody and does not have a culture in place. You can tell Chick-fil-A has a culture.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They have a culture. There's a certain way you speak. There's a look. I've never worked at McDonald's, but I really think it's a free fall. I just any and everybody. Come on.
You breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's been times I've driven up to McDonald's and didn't hear nothing. And I said, hello? And then they said, just a minute.
You are so right.
Hence, healthy and unhealthy communication.
That's so good. That is so good.
So that's the best thing. You got to ask yourself, are you a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Talking about a standard. So awesome. Guys, thank y'all so much for this conversation. Like, it has been amazing. And I thank you so much for the experience and the wisdom that you guys bring to the table and just some things that you put in my head now. I'm going to have to go back and be like, am I McDonald's or Chick-fil-A?
That's it.
I asked the question, are you McDonald's or Chick-fil-A? So I am super excited. I want to make sure that we give an opportunity. If somebody wants to get in touch with either one of you, we'll make sure, if it's okay with you guys, to share that information with them of how they can get in touch with you on the end of things. And we are going to come back and do some more stuff. I mean, I love having you guys here and just getting understanding male versus female. I don't like to put it out there like that, but it is what it is.
It is what it
and
is.
I mean, we've got to learn how to communicate with one another.
Yeah,
and we can't teach something that we're not willing to learn. So, all right. So I hope that something was said today that will make your relationship a little bit closer to a healthy relationship that you desire. I am your host, Taffany. And until next time, don't just be a hearer of the word, but be a doer. Because after all, you are the common denominator in every relationship that you're in. Peace.
I'm walking around with my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. They on the other side. I'm walking around with my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. My dreams are reach. I can see those